Amid the ongoing backlash to the administration's extreme immigration enforcement tactics, Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem says all DHS officers on the ground in Minneapolis will start wearing body cameras immediately. This announcement follows the deadly shootings of Renee Good and Alex Preddy by federal agents, where in both instances, witness videos contradicted claims made by many administration officials, sparking calls for accountability. Investigators have been reviewing body-worn camera footage in Preddy's killing, but the officers at the scene of Good's death did not appear to be equipped with them. Secretary Noem added the program will be expanded nationwide as funding is available. And it is. This also comes as Alex Preddy's death has been ruled a homicide. A report made public yesterday from the Hennepin County medical examiner states that Preddy's death was caused by multiple gunshot wounds occurring after he was shot by law enforcement officers. A homicide. The organization, Home of the Brave, looks to amplify the voices of people whose lives, they say, have been directly harmed by the Trump administration. And today the group is launching a new ad campaign pressuring Congress to impeach Secretary Kristi Noem over the actions of ICE in Minnesota. Let's bring in spokeswoman and advisory board member of Home of the Brave, Sarah Matthews. She's a former deputy press secretary during the first Trump administration and resigned from her position following the January 6, 2021 attack on the Capitol. Thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Calling for Kristi Noem's resignation. What are you asking people to do? Impeachment. And how do you rally members of Congress to get to this point?
Yeah, so we are doing a 6-figure ad buy where we have mobile billboards that will be circling the Capitol grounds for the next week that will be saying that ICE needs no more new funding and that Kristi Noem needs to be impeached. And on top of that, we have a full-page ad buy where we're wrapping copies of the Washington Post and having those delivered directly to members of Congress and calling for the impeachment of Kristi Noem as well. And we need to keep the pressure on these members of Congress because they know that she is completely unqualified and that what has happened in Minneapolis has disqualified her from serving in this position. But unfortunately, we only seem to find that Republicans find their voice to speak out against Trump when they're leaving office. And so we've seen Senator Thom Tillis say that Kristi Noem needs to go. But we need to keep the pressure on these other members of Congress because she should not be in this role, especially after everything that has happened in Minneapolis with the killing of 2 American citizens and all of the violence and chaos that has unfolded there and across the country and their immigration enforcement efforts.
Sarah, good morning. As you know better than anybody, that it's very difficult to cross Donald Trump, almost impossible. It's why, not impossible, you can do it, but they don't. Most Republicans don't do it. To your credit, you left the administration after what you saw on January 6th and have spoken out since then. But what are your hopes that some people may raise their voices? I mean, Donald Trump, as you know, has the power to silence whoever he needs to silence, and it does take a retiring member often to say something, though we did hear from one member at the top of our show in Florida, Congressman Jimenez, a Republican, saying, we've gone too far with this. Sir, you have secured the border. Go after the bad guys. Leave the other people alone. So what are your hopes that we might actually hear some more Republican voices, at least on this issue?
You know, I do wish that a lot of Republicans would come forward because it's morally the right thing to do. But politically, it would also be the right thing for them to do. And so that's where I do have some hope that maybe we'll see more who will speak out and be pressured to impeach Kristi Noem. Because if you look at the numbers in polling, Americans are not happy with everything that's going on with ICE. In a new New York Times poll, 61% of Americans said that they think ICE has gone too far. And look, Americans wanted immigration enforcement. It's part of the reason why Donald Trump was put back into power. But they don't want to see this. They don't like all the violence and chaos that has unfolded, and especially not the killing of 2 innocent American citizens. We know that Barack Obama deported nearly 3 million people, and he did it without all of this violence and chaos. So it can be done. And I think that if we're going to have any hope of these politicians doing the right thing when it comes to ICE funding, when it comes to impeaching Kristi Noem, it's going to be that it would be of the political benefit to them. And so maybe there could be some Republicans that could be swayed, but I'm going to be continuing to speak out on this, as will our organization, Home of the Brave, and keeping the pressure on them.
Sarah, you know Donald Trump probably better than anybody on this program this morning, been in the room with him for so many instances. Why is he keeping Secretary Noem at this point? Do you think he's unhappy with her? And what would it take to get him to take action? He didn't seem to shy away from firing people in his first term. In his second, he seemed less eager to do that. But he didn't mention her at all at the cabinet meeting just last week. People took a lot of hints from that. What do you think is going on there?
Yeah, I think that in the second iteration of Trump, I think that he doesn't feel as much pressure from the public or from people advising him to fire those people. I think that in his first term, we saw him fire willy-nilly. And also when he faced some public pressure, he would give in. But then that is Trump admitting that he made a mistake, that he hired the wrong person. And so I think in Trump 2.0, he's digging his heels in a bit when it comes to these cabinet officials. And he doesn't want to give the public or Democrats the satisfaction of firing these folks. We saw it with Signalgate with Secretary Hegseth, where there was also some murmurs that he was unhappy with this and that he might be on the outs, but ultimately it didn't turn into anything. And I think right now that's the same thing that we're going to see here. I think that while there are murmurs that he's unhappy with Noem and that he doesn't like having Corey Lewandowski by his by her side, I don't know if he's going to be the one to ultimately fire her. I think that if she is going to go, it would be on Congress to impeach her.
I think the other, the other conclusion one might make, it's just a question, not firing a lot of these folks who are completely unfit for their jobs, completely unfit. Yeah. And some of them taking on other jobs. You have the Treasury Secretary going on the Sunday shows talking about the shooting. I mean, it's all very confusing and chaotic, and it may be that these people are doing exactly what the president wants them to do, and that's why he's not firing them. So, yeah, it's worth asking at this point when you have the performance of the DHS secretary alone raises some serious questions. Spokeswoman for the and advisory board member for Home of the Brave, Sarah Matthews. Thank you very much for coming on the show today.
Thank you.
We appreciate it.